Alright, so this is going to be my review of Archie meets Batman 66. Yeah. If you want to talk about, like, when this first got announced a little while ago, when they announced that they were going to do a crossover between Archie and Adam West era Batman, I was like, okay, that's really cool. I think that's a really neat idea. How are we going to play with this? And I was like, that out of all the crossovers, and trust me, Archie's had really out there crossovers all the way back to Archie meets the Punisher. He's met the 80s Ninja Turtles. He's fought the Sharknado, for God's sakes. He's encountered a Predator twice. Which I still need to pick up and read Archie vs. Predator 2. Because I hear that one's completely fucking insane. But yeah, point being is that Archie has had a long list of crossovers that are completely insane. But out of all of them, like, even though it is crazy, this does, when this was first announced, it's like, that actually makes sense. Archie works really well, and you could see the world of Archie in this version of Batman. And likewise, you could see this version of Batman interacting with this, with Archie. And this isn't like the Riverdale kind of Archie. This is classic comic Archie. This is not like, Riverdale or whatever of those, or like some dark version of it. No, it's just Archie. It's just your regular Archie. And Adam West Batman just shows up. Is what I'd like to be saying, but Archie, now, the title, Archie meets Batman 66, yeah. Archie doesn't meet Batman until issue 4. And even then, he is just Bruce Wayne. He doesn't officially meet him in the full Batman regalia until chapter 5. And keep in mind, this is a 6-issue comic. If anything, this feels more like an Archie story with Batman characters in it. And you guys know me. One thing is that I don't appreciate when one thing overlooks the other, which is weird because the writer of this comic, Jeff Parker, who writes the Batman 66 comics and is a really good writer, I think Parker's a really underrated writer. It feels more like an Archie book, and when it gets to Batman stuff, it feels disjointed from the Archie stuff. Now, it's not like, Archie and Batman are like having two separate adventures and they don't intersect until the last minute. That's not what happens. But when you do a comic called Archie meets Batman 66, I would at least like to see them meet in like issue 2, because I know like in issue 1 you're trying to build it all up. So let's get into this comic. So this comic is pretty much what has happened is that Batman's Rogues Gallery, the United Underworld as they call themselves, consisting of, Joker, Riddler, Catwoman, and Penguin, along with another villain called the Siren, who I believe showed up in the comics, and they've decided, you know what, Gotham sucks. We can't rule Gotham with Batman and, with Batman and Boy Blunder getting in the way. Let's go to Riverdale. There's no superheroes there. Let's go to Riverdale and rule over it. We'll take over the town and rule like kings. So while this is going on, Batman gets so Veronica is the first person to catch on that something's going on, because the adults are starting to be affected by the Siren's mind control. And what happens is that Batman gets a call. Veronica and Dilton make a call to Gotham directly to Batman, but Batman's already in the middle of a case with another villain called Bookworm. So he sends Barbara and Dick to Riverdale first and infiltrate the town and hang out there. Find out what's going on in Riverdale, and then Batman will meet them shortly. Yeah, it's also cool that we also get the 66 version, the Batman 66 version of Poison Ivy, who's this love-drunk, Southern Belle kind of character. It's kind of fun. I think she was introduced in the Batman 66 comics, or this could be her introduction into the Adam West version of it. But yeah, this whole story with Poison Ivy and Bookworm, which diverts Batman's attention away from Riverdale, really doesn't event in anything. What's Bookworm's big scheme? It has nothing to do... it even doesn't have anything to do with what the Batman villains are doing in Riverdale. It's just, we needed Batman to be away from the book, even though it's a Batman book. It is a Batman 66 book. So meanwhile, Archie and the gang are finding out the adults are acting weird, and to this comic's credit, I don't hate this comic, keep that in mind. It feel like the dialogue from both Archie and Batman, from the Batman show, and the characters on both sides feel authentic. They feel like very authentic. There's no like, ooh, grim and gritty moment where it's completely jarring and takes you out of it. Like, it feels natural. Like I said, this was an idea out of all the Archie crossovers where you could show this to somebody and they would go, yeah, I could see that. But the thing is, they don't do a lot with it. They don't do a lot with the concept. Like, yeah, Barbara and Dick go undercover in Riverdale High and, befriend the gang. And even Archie gets a crush on Barbara while Betty gets a, crush on Dick. I need to phrase my words better. But they don't do anything. It's like, oh, they're so dreamy, but they don't do anything with it. Like, it's just kind of treated like an afterthought. And like I said, Batman's off in Gotham dealing with Bookworm, whose crime gets solved like that. And I'm like, why did we even need that? Why couldn't Batman just show up as Bruce Wayne from the get-go and infiltrate the adult side of things? Because it's clearly affecting adults. So you could have just had Bruce infiltrate from the get-go. I mean, Batman infiltrate the area as just as Bruce Wayne, while having the teens in the city from the get-go. Instead, it feels like we're telling two different stories, and then it's like Jeff Parker was like, oh shit, I'm writing a Batman and Archie book. I need to put Batman in here. Oh, how many issues do I have left? Shit. So, yeah. It's like I'm of two minds of this, because I really dig, the artwork is very reminiscent of both. Like, it fits so well for both Archie and and this era Batman. There's even the fun sound effects, and like, it doesn't feel like it like seeing this version of Batman. And yes, there wasn't another Batman crossover with Archie before this, but that was with Harley and Ivy, and that was written by Paul Dini, which I have not read. I want to read that one. I really want to read. It's a Betty and Veronica book, where Betty and Veronica meet Harley and Ivy. So this came out second. And that one is more like, the modern era. And I heard that one's really good because Paul Dini was writing it. This is good. I mean, the plot is just completely ridiculous because, again, it's par the course for this era. And everyone feels right. But at the same time, I'm like, they don't do enough with it. Like, they don't go the full 9 yards for any of this. They don't go the full 9 yards at any point in the comic where you're like, oh, this is really cool. Like, it just feels like the crossover itself is almost treated like an afterthought, and it feels disjointed. It feels really disjointed. When I picked up a book and spent, $18 on a book called Archie Meets Batman 66, I want to see Archie teaming up with Batman, at least in the second issue. Like, I didn't want to wait until, like, the 5th issue to get what we were promised. Because it feels more like Archie taking on the Batman, Archie and the gang taking on the Batman villains. And I know, I'm putting a lot of criticism on a book called Archie Meets Batman 66, but as the crossover guy, I gotta say that I don't hate this book. I really don't, because it does, like, Jeff Parker, hats off to you, man. He does really good with both characters. It's just the execution just felt off. You know what I mean? Like, the execution just felt off for all of it. So I would say, like, if you're a diehard fan of, like, Archie or of the Adam West era Batman, I'd say give this a look. It's all right. It's just okay. I didn't walk away hating this. I was like, this sucked. It's just okay. That's all I can really say. I think I just rhymed there, but whatever. So there you go. I recommend this for, like, major fans of both. This isn't like one of the crazier Archie crossover comics. But you guys tell me in the comments below, if you read this, what did you guys think of it? Just comment below, let me know. And once again, I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.